When my son told me he wasn't expecting me for Christmas, I smiled, set down my phone, and made one call to my estate attorney. By New Year's, I had removed him from my will entirely. And that was just the beginning of my plan. Justice must be restored and ingratitude punished. You won't believe what I did next. I could make my famous prime rib this year, I said, settling deeper into Nathan's leather sectional. The one with the Yorkshire pudding your mother used to love. Remember how she'd always say it was better than her grandmother's? The words hung in the warm air between us, mixing with the scent of Madison's expensive pine candles. Nathan shifted beside me, his wedding ring catching the light from their 12-foot Fraser fir. Something in his posture changed, shoulders pulling inward like he was bracing for impact. "Dad, we're not really expecting you for Christmas this year." The words hit me like a physical blow. I blinked, certain I'd misheard. "What do you mean you're not expecting me?" Nathan couldn't meet my eyes, his gaze fixed on the Italian marble coffee table I'd helped him select last spring when Madison decided their old furniture wasn't sophisticated enough. Madison's parents are flying in from Connecticut, and they have certain expectations about how Christmas should be done. My hands went cold. Certain expectations. It's just easier this way, Dad. You know how her family is about traditions. They have their own way of doing things. His voice got smaller with each word, like he was shrinking inside himself. I looked around the living room at the custom drapes I'd paid for when Madison complained about privacy, at the hardwood floors that had come from my retirement fund, at the crown molding that had depleted my savings account. Every inch of this house bore my fingerprints, my sacrifice, my love for my son. "Their own way," I repeated slowly. "And what way is that, Nathan?" He flinched. "Nathan, he. Dad, please don't make this harder than it has to be." Through the kitchen archway, I could see Madison's new Wolf range, the commercial grade one she'd insisted she needed for her culinary ambitions that lasted exactly 3 weeks. $20,000 of my money sitting there, probably used twice since October. Where will I spend Christmas then? The question came out quieter than I intended. Nathan's face crumbled. "Maybe you could visit Uncle Robert in Phoenix, or we could do something the weekend after the weekend after. Like Christmas was just another appointment that could be rescheduled for convenience." I stood up, my knees protesting after 72 years of carrying this burden alone. "I see. Dad, wait," but I was already moving toward the door, past the family photos where my face grew smaller and more distant in each frame, past the coat closet that held Madison's collection of designer jackets. My hand found the doorknob solid and cold under my palm. "Son," I said without turning around. "Tell Madison's parents I said Merry Christmas." The December air hit my face like a slap as I walked toward my Lincoln. Behind me I heard Nathan call my name once, then the soft click of the door closing. Final. Absolute. I sat in the driver's seat for a moment, engine off, watching the Christmas lights twinkle in windows of houses where fathers were still welcome. My phone buzzed, probably Nathan wanting to smooth things over with empty promises and guilt. I didn't answer. Instead, I turned the key and drove into the darkness, leaving behind the warm glow of the house I'd helped purchase, but would never belong in. The heater hummed against the December cold as I navigated the familiar streets of Westchester County. Every corner held memories of the man I used to Beth, one who believed family meant everything, who'd give his last dollar to see his son smile. That man was a fool. I stopped at the red light on Mamaroneck Avenue, watching a young father load presents into his Mercedes. His kids pressed their faces against the window, breath fogging the glass with excitement. Once upon a time, that had been Nathan and me, before Madison, before I became nothing more than a walking ATM with inconvenient emotions. The numbers started rolling through my head like a broken slot machine. $3,000 every month for 6 years. My calculator had given up trying to make sense of it last spring when I'd finally added up the total. $216,000, more money than Helen and I had saved for our entire retirement. Gone, just gone. I pressed the accelerator harder than necessary as the light turned green. The Lincoln responded with a growl that matched my mood. Post Road, that's where I'd refinanced our house, Helen's and mine, to cover their down payment. The loan officer had looked at me with pity I hadn't recognized at the time. "Mr. Harrison, are you sure about this? You're putting a lot at risk for someone else's investment." "Someone else's investment. Not my son's future, not my family's security. someone else's investment. Purchase Street the bank, where I'd taken out a second mortgage when Nathan lost his job 3 years ago. Just temporary, Dad. Just until I get back on my feet. Madison had stood behind him, her $800 handbag slung over her shoulder, nodding sympathetically, while mentally calculating how much more my desperation was worth. Nothing. As it turned out, my desperation was worth nothing to them. I pulled into my driveway, the one with the cracked asphalt I couldn't afford to fix, because every spare dollar disappeared into their perfect suburban fantasy. The porch light flickered, another repair I'd been putting off. Inside the house felt hollow without Helen's laughter, without the warmth of family gatherings that would never happen again. My phone rang as I fumbled with my keys. Madison's name flashed on the screen. Perfect timing. I'd been waiting 6 years to have this conversation. I answered on the 4th ring, letting her wait just long enough to wonder if I'd pick up at all. Richard. Madison's voice dripped with false sweetness, the same tone she used when asking me to cover their property taxes or car payments. I heard about the little misunderstanding with Nathan. Misunderstanding. I leaned against my kitchen counter. I don't think there's any misunderstanding, Madison. You made your position quite clear. Look, I know this seems harsh, but you have to understand my parents' perspective. They're very particular people. They expect a certain atmosphere during the holidays. A certain atmosphere, I repeated. And what atmosphere is that? A pause. I could hear shopping bags rustling in the background. Probably spending money that should have gone to their mortgage payment. Money that was my responsibility, apparently. Well, they're not comfortable with your lifestyle choices. The pickup truck, the beer during dinner, all those stories about your construction days. And frankly, Richard, they're educated people. They expect conversations about art, literature, current events. You know, the words hit harder than a physical blow. 6 years of biting my tongue, of swallowing insults for Nathan's sake, of pretending not to notice the way she looked at me like I was some kind of hired help. My lifestyle choices. My voice stayed level, controlled. You mean the honest work that built the business I sold to fund your life? That was different. We were grateful then, but now with my parents, now with your parents, you can't have the blue-collar embarrassment ruining your fancy dinner table. The false sweetness evaporated. Don't be dramatic, Richard. This isn't about class. It's about compatibility. Compatibility. Heat flooded my chest, but I kept my voice steady. I built a plumbing business from nothing after Nathan's grandfather died. I've employed over 60 people. I've paid more in taxes than your father made in his best year at that hedge fund. Money isn't everything, Richard. Breeding matters. Sophistication matters. And frankly, Helen understood that better than you do. The line went dead silent. She'd crossed it. The line I didn't even know existed until she'd stomped across it in her designer heels. What did you say about my wife? I'm just saying she knew how to adapt better. She didn't make waves. She understood that some circles weren't meant for people like Madison. My voice dropped to something I didn't recognize. I want you to listen very carefully. This conversation is over. We're done pretending to be family. You can't just... We're done, I repeated and ended the call. I set the phone down carefully on the counter, my hands surprisingly steady. Around me, the kitchen felt different, smaller, but somehow cleaner, like a weight had been lifted from the air itself. I walked to my desk in the corner, pulled out the manila folder I'd been avoiding for months. Bank statements, mortgage papers, 6 years of automatic transfers that had bled me dry while they lived like royalty. Time to stop the bleeding. The documents spread across my kitchen table like evidence at a crime scene. 6 years of bank statements, each one showing the same automatic transfer, $3,000 on the 15th of every month, vanishing from my account into theirs. A paper trail of my own stupidity. I pulled out my calculator and started adding. The down payment, $68,000 from my home equity loan. The kitchen renovation when Madison decided quartz countertops were essential, $24,000 from my credit card. 72 monthly mortgage payments of $3,000 each, $216,000. Not counting the car repairs, the vacation loans, the furniture that was absolutely necessary for their lifestyle. I sat back in my chair looking at the numbers until they blurred. Helen's life insurance money, my retirement savings, the nest egg we'd built for grandchildren I'd apparently never be allowed to see properly. All of it gone. poured into a house where I wasn't welcome for Christmas dinner. I reached for my phone, scrolled through contacts until I found the number for Wells Fargo. The automated system offered me options in English and Spanish. How thoughtful, how accommodating to people like me. Customer service, this is Jennifer. How can I help you today? I need to cancel an automatic transfer. I said, my voice steadier than it had been in years. Certainly, sir. I'll need your account number and some verification information. I rattled off the numbers, listened to her type in the background. Professional, efficient, no judgment about why a 72-year-old man was canceling payments that were probably supporting his son's mortgage. I see the transfer you're referring to, Mr. Harrison. $3,000 monthly to Chase account ending in 8,524. You've been making this transfer for 6 years. 6 years, I confirmed. The words tasted bitter. And you'd like to cancel it effective immediately. I looked around my kitchen at the outdated appliances I couldn't afford to replace, at the walls that needed painting, at the windows that leaked cold air because I'd spent my home improvement money on someone else's castle. Effective immediately, I confirmed. Done. The transfer has been canceled. Is there anything else I can help you with today? No, I said, surprising myself with how good the word felt. No, that's everything. I hung up and sat in the sudden quiet of my house. Outside, December darkness was settling over Westchester. Christmas lights twinkled in windows where families gathered without conditions, without judgment, without the need to hide who they were. My phone buzzed with a text. Probably Nathan wanting to apologize or Madison needing money for something essential. I didn't check. Instead, I dialed another number, one I should have called years ago. Whitman and Associates Estate Planning, a professional voice answered. This is Richard Harrison. I need to make an appointment with Charles Whitman. Tell him it's about updating my will. Of course, Mr. Harrison. How urgent is this matter? I looked at the pile of bank statements at 6 years of generosity thrown back in my face. Very urgent, I said. I have some changes to make. Charles Whitman had been my attorney for 30 years. He'd handled Helen's estate, set up my will, watched me pour my life savings into my son's bottomless pit of need. He didn't say I told you so when I sat across from him that Thursday morning, but I could see it in his eyes. You want to remove Nathan entirely? Charles adjusted his glasses, legal pad at the ready. Entirely. I pushed the folder of bank statements across his mahogany desk. Every penny goes to the Wounded Veterans Foundation and the local food bank. 50-50 split. Charles scanned the numbers, his expression professionally neutral. Richard, I have to ask, is this a decision made in anger? These things can often be reconsidered once emotions cool. I've been cooling for 6 years, Charles. Cooling while they heated their pool with my money. Cooling while they took vacations I paid for. Cooling while they told me I wasn't good enough to eat Christmas dinner with their sophisticated friends. He nodded slowly. And the house, the one you co-signed for, not my problem anymore. Actually, Charles pulled out another file. It might be. As co-signer, if they default, then I'll let it go to foreclosure. My credit's already shot from all the loans I took out for them. What's one more black mark? Charles made notes in his precise handwriting. The current value of your estate, including the house life insurance policies and investments, is approximately $800,000. $800,000. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. I could have had twice that if I hadn't been subsidizing their fairy tale. The changes will be effective immediately once you sign. No notification required to the beneficiaries. Good. I leaned forward. I wanted ironclad, Charles. No loopholes, no challenges. When I die, Nathan and Madison get exactly what they gave me, nothing. Charles prepared the documents with the efficiency of a man who'd seen too many family disasters to be surprised by one more. As I signed my name on form after form, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years: control. There's one more thing, I said as we finished. I want to set up a scholarship fund for kids studying trades, plumbing, electrical, carpentry, the kind of work Madison thinks is beneath her. Charles smiled for the first time that morning. Now that sounds like the Richard Harrison I used to know. I left his office with copies of everything my legacy redistributed to people and causes that would actually appreciate it. The December sun felt warmer on my face as I walked to my truck, my lifestyle choice that so offended Madison's delicate sensibilities. My phone had been buzzing all morning. 14 missed calls from Nathan, 6 from Madison, 3 from a number I didn't recognize. I deleted the voicemails without listening and blocked all 3 numbers. They wanted me out of their life. Wish granted? Permanently. The Westchester Herald landed on my driveway 3 days after Christmas with a thud that seemed louder than usual. I knew something was wrong before I even picked it up. There on page 2 of the local section was my face staring back at me. Local business owner abandons family. During holidays, read the headline. The photo was recent from the Rotary Club dinner last spring. I look successful, respected. Everything Madison's parents apparently thought I wasn't. I carried the paper inside and spread it on my kitchen table, reading slowly. Nathan Harrison, 38, and his wife Madison found themselves in an unexpected crisis this Christmas when his father, Richard Harrison of Harrison Plumbing Services, allegedly withdrew financial support without warning, leaving the couple unable to meet their mortgage obligations during the holiday season. "We're devastated," Madison Harrison told the Herald. "After years of what we thought was a loving family relationship to be cut off without explanation right before Christmas is cruel. We've had to borrow money just to keep the lights on." The elder Harrison, who sold his plumbing business 5 years ago for an undisclosed sum, has been providing regular financial support to the couple since their marriage. That support ended abruptly this month, sources say, following a family disagreement. "Mental health issues in aging parents are more common than people think," said Madison Harrison. "We're concerned about his state of mind and hope he gets the help he needs." Mental health issues. I set down my coffee cup, carefully, afraid I might shatter it in my grip. They were playing dirty, trying to paint me as a senile old man who'd lost his marbles. The article went on, quoting sources close to the family about my alleged erratic behavior, my inability to adapt to retirement, my struggles with loneliness since Helen's death. All of it carefully crafted to make me look unstable while they appeared as loving family members concerned for my welfare. I reached for my phone, then stopped. What was the point? They'd fired the first shot in a war they didn't realize they'd already lost. Instead, I made a different call. "Jerry, it's Richard Harrison. You still running that financial planning column for the Herald?" "Yeah, I saw today's piece. That's actually why I'm calling. How'd you like an exclusive about why more retirees are reconsidering their estate planning? No names. Just numbers. Real numbers about what happens when generosity gets taken for granted. Tomorrow, perfect. Marino's at noon." I hung up and looked at the folder of bank statements still sitting on my counter. Madison wanted to make this public. Fine. Let's talk about financial elder abuse. Let's talk about adult children who drain their parents' retirement funds. Let's discuss the difference between helping family and being held hostage by them. The phone rang. Charles Whitman. "Richard, I just saw the paper." "Do you want me to know lawyers, Charles?" "Not yet. They want to play the media game. I've got receipts. Literal receipts. Let them explain to their country club friends how they've been living off a plumber's savings for 6 years. Be careful, Richard. Libel laws." "Truth isn't libel, Charles. And I've got $200,000 worth of truth sitting right here." After I hung up, I made another decision. I opened my laptop and started typing. Not a response to their article, something better. A letter to the IRS about gift tax implications on substantial financial transfers. After all, if I'd been gifting them $3,000 a month for 6 years, shouldn't they have been paying taxes on it? Amazing how different the world looked when you stopped being a doormat and started being a businessman again. Jerry Martinez met me at our usual booth at Marino's, his reporter's notebook already out. We'd known each other for 20 years. He'd written about Harrison Plumbing when I was growing. It covered the sale when I retired. He knew my story, and more importantly, he knew my character. So he said, sliding into the booth, "Madison finally pushed you too far." I spread the bank statements across the table like a deck of cards. 6 years, Jerry. $216,000. Plus the down payment, the renovations, the cars, the vacations. Jerry whistled low. "Jesus, Richard, that's a whole retirement. Helen's life insurance. My savings. The profit from selling the business." I pulled out the printed screenshots of Madison's social media. Look at December 15th. Posted about their blessed life and success through hard work. 3 hours after my automatic transfer hit their account, Jerry studied the papers, his expression shifting from surprise to disgust. They've been living entirely off you, Nathan works, but his salary wouldn't cover their mortgage, let alone their lifestyle. Madison hasn't worked since they got married. Said she was focusing on building their social presence. And now they're claiming you have mental health issues. I smiled grimly. Apparently refusing to be an ATM is a sign of dementia. Jerry took photos of several documents. You know this story is going to explode, right? Elder financial abuse is a hot topic right now. Don't use their names, I said. I don't want to stoop to their level. Just tell the story how retirees need to protect themselves from family members who see them as unlimited resources. What about the Christmas dinner thing? I hesitated, then nodded. A retiree who'd given his adult children over $200,000 was told he wasn't welcome at Christmas dinner because he didn't fit with the in-laws' sophisticated expectations. That's all you need to print. Jerry's column ran that Sunday under the headline, "The Hidden Epidemic," when adult children drain their parents dry. He never mentioned names, but in a community like Westchester, everyone knew. The numbers were too specific, the details too familiar. My phone exploded with calls. Friends from Rotary, former employees, neighbors all expressing shock and support. Several shared their own stories of ungrateful children of retirement savings decimated by adult kids who felt entitled to their parents' money. Nathan tried calling from different numbers. I blocked them all. Madison sent a cease and desist letter from some lawyer friend claiming defamation. Charles Whitman laughed when he read it. They'd have to prove the story was about them, he said, which means admitting to taking all that money. They've trapped themselves. But the best response came from an unexpected source. Madison's father, Harrison Whitfield III, called me directly. "Mr. Harrison, this is Harrison Whitfield, Madison's father." I almost hung up, but curiosity won. "Mr. Whitfield, I had no idea about the extent of the financial support you've been providing." Madison led us to believe they were financially independent. I see. A long pause. "I owe you an apology. Madison told us you were difficult, that you had drinking problems, anger issues. We believed her. And now I'm looking at my daughter's credit card statements and seeing charges at stores she couldn't possibly afford on Nathan's salary. I'm a financial analyst, Mr. Harrison. I should have known better." "Yes," I said simply, "you should have. For what it's worth, you would have been welcome at our Christmas dinner. More welcome, it seems, than my daughter will be next year." I hung up without responding. His apology meant nothing. 6 years too late, and only offered because his daughter's lies had been exposed. But it confirmed what I'd suspected Madison had been playing, everyone creating a fiction that required my money to maintain. Now that the money was gone, the fiction was crumbling. Good. March arrived with unseasonable warmth and a certified letter that made me smile. Notice of default. Nathan and Madison had missed 3 mortgage payments. The house I'd helped them buy was heading for foreclosure. I filed the letter in my growing folder of vindication and returned to my coffee. Outside, my neighbor was teaching his grandson to ride a bike, the kind of simple family moment that didn't require a 6-figure subsidy. My phone rang. Unknown number, but the area code was familiar. Madison's parents' Connecticut estate. "Mr. Harrison, this is Catherine Whitfield, Madison's mother. Another Whitfield looking for absolution. Mrs. Whitfield, I'm calling about Nathan and Madison's situation. Harrison told me about your conversation, and we've been discussing possibly helping them with the mortgage. But frankly, we need to understand the full scope of what's been happening." I laughed, actually laughed. "You want me to explain to you why your daughter has been living off my retirement savings for 6 years? Ask her. She won't discuss it. Says it's too painful that you've turned Nathan against her." "Mrs. Whitfield, I haven't spoken to Nathan since he told me I wasn't welcome for Christmas. Any turning against Madison is his own doing." A delicate throat clearing. "Perhaps we could meet. I feel there are things that need to be said, apologies that need to be made." "No, I beg your pardon, no meetings, no apologies, no explanations. Your daughter made it clear that I don't fit in your world. I'm simply honoring her wishes. Mr. Harrison, surely goodbye, Mrs. Whitfield." 2 days later, Nathan appeared at my door. He'd lost weight, his expensive suit replaced by jeans and a polo shirt. The Mercedes was gone. A Honda Civic sat in my driveway. "Dad," he said when I opened the door. "Please, 5 minutes." I stepped aside, noting how he looked around my house with new eyes. The comfortable furniture, the photos of Helen, the evidence of a life lived within its means. "Madison left," he said without preamble. Moved back with her parents. Said I was a failure, that I'd promised her a life I couldn't deliver. And I'm glad she's gone. He met my eyes for the first time in months. Dad, I'm so sorry. I let her convince me that we were better than me. He nodded miserably. I knew what she was doing. Every time she criticized you, every time she made those comments about your work, your truck, your friends, I knew it was wrong. But I didn't want to rock the boat, so you threw me overboard instead, yes. His voice broke. I threw away the only parent I have left for someone who only loved me for what you were giving us. We sat in silence for a moment. Outside I could hear kids playing, normal life continuing while ours reconstructed itself. The house, I asked. Gone. Foreclosure proceedings started. I'm staying with a friend from work and got a second job bartending weekends. Good. He looked up surprised. Good, you're learning to stand on your own feet. That's good. Dad, I know I have no right to ask, but I'm not giving you money, Nathan. I'm not asking for money. He pulled out an envelope. I'm asking for time. I know I don't deserve it, but I want to try to rebuild our relationship. Without Madison, without money, just us. I looked at the envelope. What's that, a check? $50. It's not much, but I want to start paying you back. $50 every month until, well, forever probably, but I need to do it. $50 against $200,000. It was meaningless mathematically, but enormous symbolically. Keep your money, I said. Use it for groceries, Dad, but Sunday dinners. Here, 6 o'clock. You bring dessert, something you can actually afford. We'll see how it goes. His face transformed. Really, really. But Nathan, the will stands. You're not getting a penny when I die. That money's going to people who need it, I understand. I don't want your money, Dad. I want my father back. Maybe, just maybe, I wanted my son back too. But trust, unlike money, couldn't be transferred automatically. It had to be earned, one dinner at a time. Spring settled over Westchester County like a blessing. My garden, neglected for years while I worked overtime to fund someone else's dreams, bloomed with new life. I spent my mornings tending tomatoes and peppers, the kind of honest work Madison had found so beneath her. Nathan came for dinner every Sunday. The first few weeks were awkward, too much history, too much hurt. But slowly we found our rhythm. He told me about his jobs, his tiny apartment, his budget struggles. I taught him what I should have taught him years ago, how to live within his means. I never realized how much groceries actually cost, he admitted one evening, helping me clear the table. Madison always handled the shopping. I just paid the credit card bills. Or rather, you did. Every man should know the price of milk and bread, I said. It keeps you grounded. Like Mom used to say, champagne tastes on a beer budget leads to trouble. It was the first time either of us had mentioned Helen naturally, without the weight of grief or guilt. Progress. Jerry Martinez called in late April. You see the business section today? I hadn't. When I unfolded the paper there, it was Whitfield Enterprises announces restructuring. Madison's father's investment firm was downsizing. The article mentioned exposure to over-leveraged real estate ventures and reassessment of risk management strategies. Karma, Jerry asked. Reality, I corrected. People living beyond their means always face a reckoning eventually. Madison had been calling from blocked numbers, leaving voicemails I deleted unheard. But Charles Whitman kept me informed of the legal attempts, claims of elder abuse, demands for continued support, based on established patterns of gift-giving. Even a laughable attempt to claim common-law marriage rights to my estate. She's desperate, Charles told me over lunch. Her parents cut her off after learning the truth. Apparently she'd been telling them the same lies, that you were unstable, alcoholic, abusive. When they found out about the money, they realized she'd been playing everyone. And Nathan, she's filed for divorce, claiming abandonment and financial abuse. I nearly choked on my sandwich. Financial abuse. She hasn't worked in 7 years. Hence the desperation. Without your money or her parents' support, she's facing reality for the first time. That evening, watering my garden, I thought about consequences. Madison had built a house of cards on my retirement funds, convincing everyone she was something she wasn't. Now the cards were falling, and she had no one to blame but herself. Nathan arrived early for Sunday dinner, carrying a pie from the grocery store bakery. Daddy said, setting it on the counter, I need to tell you something. I tensed, old habits dying hard. I've been seeing someone. Her name's Carol. She's a teacher at the elementary school. I met her at my bartending job. She comes in with the other teachers on Fridays. And she doesn't know about before. About Madison, the money, any of it. I told her my dad's a retired plumber who worked hard his whole life. That's all. That's all I am, son. No, he said firmly. You're more than that. But that's enough for her. She wants to meet you when you're ready. A teacher. Someone who understood living on a budget, who worked for something beyond status. Maybe Nathan had learned something after all. Bring her next Sunday, I said. I'll make my pot roast. His smile was worth more than all the money I'd lost. She'll love that. She's nothing like Madison, Dad. She drives a 10-year-old Toyota and thinks shopping at Target is splurging. Smart woman. I want to do it right this time. No loans, no handouts, no living beyond our means. Just normal. Normal. Such a simple word for such a complicated journey back. December arrived with the first real snow in years, blanketing Westchester in pristine white. I stood at my kitchen window, coffee in hand, watching the neighborhood kids build snowmen. Different from last Christmas when I'd stood in this same spot feeling hollow and used. Now the house felt full, even in its solitude, full of purpose, full of peace. The doorbell rang at exactly 6 o'clock. Nathan stood on my porch with Carol, both carrying covered dishes and wearing matching nervous smiles. Dad, Nathan said, "This is Carol." She was nothing like Madison, medium height, comfortable clothes, laugh lines around warm brown eyes. She carried herself like someone who'd never needed to impress anyone with anything other than kindness. "Mr. Harrison," she said, offering her hand. "I've heard so much about you. Thank you for having me. Call me Richard. And thank you for making my son smile again." Dinner was simple: pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans from my garden that I'd frozen in the fall. Carol ate with genuine appreciation, asking about my gardening techniques, laughing at my stories about ornery plumbing clients. She fit at our table in a way Madison never had. "Nathan tells me you donated a scholarship to the vocational school," Carol said over dessert. "My kids would love to hear about that. We're always trying to show them different career paths." "Not everyone needs a 4-year degree," I said. "Some of my best employees started as apprentices at 16. They own their own companies now. That's exactly what I tell my students. Honest work is honest work, whether it's with your hands or your head." Nathan caught my eye and smiled. This one understood. After dinner, while Carol helped with dishes, actually helped, not just move things around like Madison used to, Nathan pulled me aside. "Dad, I need to tell you something. Carol doesn't know because I wanted to tell you first. I've been promoted to management at the hardware store. It's not huge money, but with the bartending and careful budgeting, I can actually save a little each month." "That's wonderful, son. I've saved enough for something important." He pulled out a small box. "I want to ask Carol to marry me, but I wanted your blessing first. And Dad, I'm paying for the ring myself. No loans, no credit cards. Cash." I felt my throat tighten. "Your mother would be proud. I hope so. I know I haven't earned forgiveness for stop." I put my hand on his shoulder. "We've both paid enough for past mistakes. Focus on the future." Carol appeared in the doorway, dish towel in hand. "Am I interrupting?" "Not at all," I said. "In fact, why don't you both stay for coffee? I have something to show you." I retrieved a photo album from the living room, one Madison had always dismissed as boring. Pictures of Helen and me, young and struggling. Our first apartment, smaller than Nathan's current place. The used truck that started Harrison Plumbing. Nathan as a baby in a second-hand crib. "This is beautiful," Carol said, studying a photo of Helen in our tiny garden. "You both look so happy." "We were," I said. "We had nothing but each other, and that was everything." Nathan squeezed Carol's hand. Message received. They left at 9, Nathan helping Carol navigate the snowy driveway to her Toyota. I watched from the window as he brushed snow off her windshield, saw her laugh at something he said. Real happiness, not the performed kind that required an audience and a credit card. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number that I almost deleted, then recognized the area code. "Madison. Richard. I know you hate me, but I'm desperate. My parents won't help. Nathan won't answer. I just need enough to get back on my feet. Please, it's Christmas." I deleted the message and blocked the number. Some lessons had to be learned the hard way, and enabling her would teach nothing. Instead, I called Charles Whitman's after-hours line. "Charles, Richard Harrison. I want to add a codicil to my will. Yes, I know it's late. A provision for any grandchildren, but in trust. For education only, trade school or college. Not a penny for their parents, but the kids shouldn't suffer for their parents' mistakes. Yes, name Nathan as trustee." He's learned some hard lessons about money. After hanging up, I made one more call. Nathan, it's Dad. Tell Carol she's welcome for Christmas dinner. I'll make prime rib. No, your mother's recipe. The one that's better than anyone's grandmother's. Full circle. From rejection to redemption, from enabling to empowering. The money I'd lost was gone forever, but what I'd gained, my self-respect, my son's maturity, the promise of a daughter-in-law who valued substance over show, was worth more than any bank balance. Outside snow continued to fall, covering the mistakes of yesterday with the promise of tomorrow. In my warm kitchen, planning a Christmas dinner where I'd actually be welcome, I raised my coffee cup in a silent toast to Helen. We did it, honey. We raised him right. It just took him a while to remember. The future stretched ahead, uncertain but no longer empty. I had my life back, my son back, my dignity intact. And sometimes that's the best inheritance you can give or receive.